Good morning, everybody. Don't worry, this isn't going to be a full class period of information. Next week is going to be our final projects and then just partying and celebrating the fact that you're done. So I didn't want to bring in serious stuff to that, but I felt like I needed to say something before the end of the year now that y'all have taken the CLEP test and some of you got the version that was pretty icky from what I've heard. You've got a lot of immorality, pedophiles, just nasty stuff. Like, why would anybody put that in literature and say that it's good? So now you know why we don't really discuss the contemporary period of literature, why we go all the way back to the colonial period that fits the worldview that we believe is correct, that God is in charge of the world, that there is a right and wrong, that there are absolute truths, and we get that truth from God, from His scriptures, and we live by it. And in doing so, we can have peace and joy and love and all these good things. But the world isn't that way anymore, and things have shifted in our nation from that, as you know, to this direction and this direction and this direction, and now we are where we are today. So, how did that happen? How do you change the heart and mind of an entire culture over time? Well, you do it through propaganda sometimes. Sometimes you do it through force. Sometimes you do it through coercion. And sometimes you do it really, really subtly through entertainment. The books you read, the movies you watch, the commercials that you didn't turn on purpose, but they're putting little things in there trying to change your mind about stuff. I just kind of wanted you to be aware that there's a pretty purposeful process in how you change people's mind about something. Well, if you want to change somebody's mind about a sin, first thing you do, well, one of the first things you do, the things I'm going to mention aren't necessarily exact order, but you see the progression and you can notice it throughout history if you're paying attention. For one, you give it a name. So, for example, Hitler created the Jewish problem. He gave it a term so that then he could start blaming everything on the Jewish problem. He could start isolating the Jews from their fellow man, start dehumanizing them, and creating them as a separate, less than human thing, so that by the time he created the Jewish solution, he had primed his people to be prepared to accept it. So you name it. When you name something, that validates it as an option. Then you normalize it in very small doses, just little tiny bits that people are like, ooh, I don't feel comfortable with that, but it's not enough to make me stop watching the movie or not let my kids read that book. Then you rationalize it. Well, it makes them happy, this choice, this sin, and, we want people to be happy. Don't we care about people? Don't we love people? That sort of thing. You justify it. Don't they have the right to be happy? Shouldn't they be allowed to make their own choices? Who are you to say they shouldn't make their own choices? And if you have a worldview that doesn't include God and doesn't include right and wrong as an absolute from a higher authority, then you get to do whatever's right in your own eyes. You glorify it. So then suddenly the people who are choosing this sin become the heroes. They're the ones. Then you defend it. So now that you've justified it and normalized it and said that this is good because it makes people happy, then you can start saying this is just and right. And who are you to say that it's wrong? And now you can vilify, which means, making a villain out of anybody who says that this is wrong. And so it completely switches the mindset of a culture from we believe this is true and this is sin over here to turning evil into good and good into evil and saying this sin is beautiful and it's wonderful and it's good, and anybody who doesn't jump on board, they're the bad people. This is the sin. They're the ones who are evil. You need to be aware of that because it is happening in our culture. You need to be prepared that if you are in the secular world, if you go to a secular college, if you're reading secular literature, plan on being attacked if you think that anything is wrong and you think it's okay to say this is wrong and so we shouldn't do it. So what does that all mean? What's the point? Why am I telling you all this? Well, for one, so that you know when you're faced up with it. When somebody does say, this is good educational literature and it's on the summer reading list at this school, and you start reading it and think, this is trash and it's filthy, why would anybody read this? There's a purpose there. Put it away, throw it in the trash. It's okay. But it just shows you the desperate need in our culture for salt and light. And you know about that because you wrote a paper about it. So you know how you can be salt and light in your community. So I wanted to end with what I believe is some truly great American literature for you, so that you don't end with just what you read in the CLEP test. Here we go. John Adams, the second president of the United States. We have no government armed with power capable of contending with human passions unbridled by morality and religion. Avarice, ambition, revenge, or gallantry would break the strongest cords of our Constitution as a whale goes through a net. Our Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Alexander Hamilton. The politician who loves liberty sees a gulf that may swallow up the liberty to which he is devoted. He knows that morality overthrown and morality must fall without religion. The terrors of despotism can alone curb the impetuous passions of man and confine him within the bonds of social duty. Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin said, God governs in the affairs of men, and if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it probable that an empire can rise without his aid? George Washington, first President of the United States. It is the duty of all nations to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God and to obey his will. Thomas Jefferson. God who gave us life, gave us liberty. Can the liberties of a nation be secure when we have removed the conviction that these liberties are the gift of God? Indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever. Calvin Coolidge, 13th President of the United States. The foundation of our society and our government rests so much on the teachings of the Bible that it would be difficult to support them if faith in these teachings would cease to be practically universal in our country. I'm going to read that again. That's not what you're hearing out of the government today. The foundation of our society and our government rests so much on the teachings of the Bible that it would be difficult to support them if faith in these teachings would cease to be practically universal in our country. That's good literature. So, that's it from me. Next time we see each other, you'll be giving your final projects. Plan to present them to the class, and then we'll be enjoying being done. I look forward to seeing you Wednesday. Be salt and light. I'm proud of you, and have a good week.